Hello, how's it going? Sorry, we're
Hello.
starting a tiny bit late today. There is Eben as
Oh,
well. Look at that, with our
is that
delightful
me?
bonding this thing.
That is not me.
Well,
That is.
that is a tangle of wires, but I feel like in some ways that's a decent representation of things. It's
Why is
good.
it? Why is it showing the wrong side of the camera? Hold on a second. It wouldn't be
hmm
us if there wasn't some little technical problem here. What's going on?
Some technical thing.
Also,
It's true. It's true. It's true.
I'm also
You know,
trying to. I also noticed like the last couple of streams I've been a little laggy or something, so I'm trying to
yes.
correct that as well. But why is it? I don't understand why it is showing the back of the camera.
True.
This is bizarre.
I repeat my claim that I repeat my observation that there are these amazing things that you can add to your screen called cameras, so you don't have to use your phone for these things. But it's fine.
The,
They do
it's
look
just
very pretty, however.
it is a much better quality image when it's working properly.
When it's exactly. Mm-hmm.
Which it is often working properly. It's
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but also it did prevent me from playing music this morning, so that is a problem as well. I think
Yeah, this is true.
that needs to be rectified.
Yeah.
Well, while I figure this out, I'll be a bundle of wires for a couple of minutes. How are you?
Pretty well. Just running a little bit late, so apologies for starting that. Just back-to-back meetings coming into this, lining, trying to get a couple of ducks in a row. So, but excited to dive in and chat about what's happening and what we're up to, and the KIA and all that kind of fun stuff.
Exactly. I'm
Very
very
specifically,
Anyway,
yes.
go ahead. Go ahead. Why don't we start with KIA, because that's the most exciting news for today, I think. So
I
let's get
think
right
so.
to it. The Koala Intelligence Agency. I will first address the koala in the room, which I do feel very strange that you're seeing this blurry picture of me while I'm saying this, but um, we have been. It has taken us longer to get going with what we had planned with the koalas, which, as you know, if you've been paying attention at all, or if you don't know, you're about to know, is a series of short comic strips featuring koalas directly from the collection that have been submitted in a Twitter thread, which is currently pinned at the top of the Koala Intelligence Agency Twitter thread,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter
That I
profile.
went through this morning and pulled a bunch of stuff to kind of coordinate everything into a document for our use internally and use with the artist and writer that's getting involved, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yes.
So yes, pulling things together for the real kickoff of this.
Indeed. So we are very excited to now be able to say that the artist that we had hoped we were going to be able to bring on board for this is in fact on board for this. And so we're starting with the first batch of strips, getting those up and running. We've put the project together in our project management portal and are digging into the beginnings of getting those strips made and out to everyone else, which I think is very exciting.
Yeah, and the name of the chap, I think Bennett posted this in Discord recently. The name of the chap is Ivan Ehlers, Ehlers. He has done a ton of work for various things over the years, including like a bunch of stuff in the New Yorker, which is really exciting. And I think his style and his sensibility, and did long chat with him yesterday about approach and what to be doing, and I think he just gets what this needs to be in a really exciting way. Wouldn't you say, Evan?
I would 100% agree. And I also think the exciting part about it is, he does bring not just a pedigree with having done a bunch of work for things, as you said, like the New Yorker, but also, kind of a real, whoops, as I cut myself off, but also a real skill set for this type of material. And I think that's one of the things we were really trying to make sure as we got into this with that the comic strip format, be it the single panel comic or the multi-panel comic strip, is its own thing. It's not just a short comic book. It's its own, art form, its own craft in and of itself. And so, being able to find someone that's both excited about this project and the creative opportunities that it presents, but also really has that skill set coming into it, I think is going to be a very cool process to see and be a part of. And I could not be more excited.
No, it's great. And funnily enough, it's something that's been kind of in our minds for quite a long time. Like, we started exploring a series, funnily enough, tied into Dead Town, that was like a series of shorts that's still kind of bubbling in the background somewhere, or at least inspired by characters in Dead Town, I should say. So we kind of wrote a bunch of these little shorts, and then just recently, maybe for another project that's happening, I've been writing a bunch as well, which has been fun. And it is thinking about the kind of, the story, the gag that can get told over that it's really fun, and it is definitely its own skill set. And I think it is, we're exploring a couple of different ways of doing this. So I think obviously the standard 3-panel setup is going to be, I think, a lot of this. But we also very much want to do the kind of, single image, Far Side-esque, telling a joke, a little more detail, but telling a joke in kind of one thing, with a caption and a bit of dialogue. Like, it's going to be really cool to explore kind of what lands, how these koalas work, what's the world. There's more happening now that we're doing, as far as, now that we know it's Ivan, and how do we expand that out? What are the parameters of the world in which he gets to kind of explore and tell these stories is going to be great. And then it is also something that we want to come back to the community with, not only for the characters themselves, but also very specifically for, if you've got ideas for what these could be, we want to know, and we really want to hear these, and we can then kind of work with you. We can, whatever, they may be perfect. We may need to develop them a little bit to get them honed in, but we want to be doing things based on community stories as well, very, very much, which would be really exciting.
Yeah, extremely.
Yep. You still sound distracted slightly.
I'm just really bothered by the fact that I am a weird blob. All right. Well, anyway, I am genuinely excited about what the KIA is going to turn into, and we've got another little thing that we're kind of working on, which, just to clarify, like, this first batch of things will be, kind of a test run for getting our hands around the format and, how the process is going to work, and sort of figuring out the tone and the style of these. So I think it's, one of the things that we probably said on here before, and that's certainly become just my almost mantra, is that, it's like, you have to make it a real project to figure these things out. So, that's like a lot of what you see in finished material is, the results of the behind the scenes work. And I think one of the things that has been fun and exciting, from my point of view, with this context of building these franchises and story worlds with a community and with the people that we've been able to connect to over the past few years, and having the Discord and like all those things, is like you actually get to see a lot of that behind the scenes work, or kind of participate in that process. And so this is going to be that to a degree, where this first batch of strips will be, finished things in and of themselves, but also a way for us and the community to participate in kind of how is this going to feel, and what is it going to look like, and what's the vibe of this that we want to ultimately nail down, with the intent that it then expands into bigger and bigger elements of this, or a more fully formed, kind of fleshed out world over time. So I hope, I want to invite everyone in the community to look at it through that lens, which is we'll be very interested in and excited about feedback and kind of the play, both with us and with Ivan as the artist, of like, okay, here's the first few strips, how does that land? Like, does it capture the spirit that people kind of expect from the KIA, or are there elements that feel like they're missing? Like, these are the kinds of things that we want to go through together that we would, in another context be doing kind of internally without sharing that. But I think it's going to be really fun to have it be public and part of the process that everybody can participate in.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. Like the R&D aspect of this, the development aspect of these is great. And I think it is going to be, I think we're not coming into this saying, here are the hard and fast rules. Everything that's produced is kind of quote unquote in canon for this. This is very much an exploration. And the nice thing is, obviously, we get all these different, there's a bunch of different characters, there's a bunch of different scenarios. There's the kind of, look at that. Good God. There's, I think we've got a kind of fun initial setup, which is, okay, there is the intelligence agency, kind of the hub of that, and then who are the agents they're dealing with around the world, and what are the other species they're interacting with, and all those kinds of things, which just gives a very large canvas on which to play. And to, as Evan was saying, explore what's working, what's landing, what's not working. Great. We can throw away what's not working and keep iterating on what is over the next, the joy again of the short form thing is you're not making a crap. We've got to decide everything now because it's 6 episodes of big stuff and we've got to have everything written beforehand because we've got to know how we tie everything together. It's no, here's this world. Let's go play. All right. Well, that little bit of it doesn't work. Right. We're going to go over here and do that instead. We're just going to pretend that doesn't exist. And that's just going to be.
Yes, indeed. So I do think it will be fun. And now that I finally have myself on camera, I thought let's just share a little bit of Ivan's work so people can see a little taste of what he does. So I'm just pulling up his Instagram page here. I would recommend that anybody who is engaged, give him a quick follow. But again, like, what I love about this is like you can just see the mastery of, oops, I'm not logged in over here, but you can see the mastery of, in a lot of this case, kind of the single panel strip, very much a, as we talk with him, we say keeping the bar.
Are we meant to be showing it, or are we? It's not.
We are meant to be showing it. It's not showing it. Wow, this is just the ultimate stream. Hold on a second. It says, oh, here we go. I have to turn it on. There we go. So this is, Ivan's Instagram page again, just the mastery of the single panel format in a lot of his work. I think one of the things that, as we were kind of looking through some of this stuff, it's like looking at how he treats animal characters, like these crows, for example, I think, are so nicely drawn, or, we have the sea turtle at the bar. So, I think there's a real skill, as we talked about, to being able to capture, in this case, a lot of these kind of single images with a caption or with a line of dialogue that, tells a story that lands whoops, not logged in this one, but that lands a joke, so forth and so on. So I think it's just, again, sort of a testament to, being able to work with someone that really lives and breathes that format, that art form, to get their take on something like, NFT koalas. So it should be a lot of fun. All right. So that's the koala update. Moving on, Bushido's, still progressing on the art side. So we're well into, I believe, getting the beginning of color work in episode 7 at this point. Am I right about that?
No, still going on ink. Still going on
episode 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
So halfway through ink episode 7.
Yeah, deep into inks on episode 7, and so Nicholas's process is to completely finish each episode before moving on to the next one. So we'll finish the inks and then get the color work and then go on from there. And then on the Vogu, we are getting in the last of the anthology stories now. So I think the last 2 are just getting started right now on the art side, but everything else is either done or just about done, which is very exciting. We've been posting some.
We got some art in from someone recently that was amazing. Just
oh my goodness, yeah. There, the whole batch is awesome.
Man's best friend, I believe, was the story. Yes, it's looking pretty amazing.
The whole batch is awesome. There's been a lot of Lady Valor sneak peeks in the Discord recently, because we just coincidentally we're getting like final art on one of her Dead Town stories and her Vogu story kind of, all at the same time. So it's very cool. Her her Vogu story has a really unique aesthetic to it, which I really like. So this is an artist I found his portfolio, and this is the first time that we're working with him, but he's been a delight to work with and just super responsive and willing to kind of figure out a couple of things through the process, and just really great. So I could not be happier with that. And then we also posted a sneak peek of a fully colored page from another of the stories that is just also amazing. So we said this before, but it's like all these different anthology series, the thing that I just love, which just creatively just makes me so happy, is the variety of styles and materials. And so getting to see the Vogu, for example, we know what that kind of looks like through Jason's lens, the original creator, and kind of his style. And obviously we want more and more and more and more and more of that. Jason, if you're listening, more Vogu. But at the same time, it's so fun to see these short stories come to life through, the interpretations of other artists. And I think, to me, it's the real body of work that starts to suggest this larger universe in a way that is different than just having one style associated with it. You get to really feel like there's a lot going on here that is all connected, and has a lot of different elements in it, which just as a creative exercise to me is very exciting. Just put that anywhere, Adam. No problem.
That's good. It's I'm sitting here playing with a pocket knife. Is this my thing? It's, the ex-smoker's habit. I need something in my hands. No, I just sit here playing with a knife.
Fine. Totally normal. Yeah, at least you're not like
right
in the middle. So that's Bushido's underway, Vogu underway. Let's see. On Dead Town,
Wanderers, we're getting updates in getting episode 4, a couple of pages in for episode 4, which is the space battling we talked about. And holy shit,
mind-blowingly cool.
Is just incredible. Like it's one of those ones where like we can't really share anything on that one, but God, I want to, because it looks good. So yes,
I might have snuck in a little snippet of a panel into the Discord as well. So hopefully we won't get in trouble for that. But that's
good. No, that's fine. I think it's more, it's the beauty of the whole page is just just stunning. So kind of an
Frank Calico, who is also the artist on Darkland, which you can read on the Macroverse app right now, is doing the main series for Wanderers, and it is just stunning work. I mean, it's like
it's incredible.
I dare say some of the best stuff he's done. It's fantastic. And it's also his style with the kind of Wanderers color palette is a very cool combination as well. So we're seeing more and more of that kind of come into play here as it rolls out. On the Dead Town front, as I mentioned, getting in final art for Lady Valor's anthology story, and then actually, I think we
got all the art in for that. It looks amazing.
It looks amazing. There's one correction coming in for one of the pages, and then kind of final high-res files. But yes, it looks amazing, and the whole story has really come together. Again, shout out to the artist and the team that we're working with on that one. This is a guy that you connected with, Adam, they're based in Nigeria, I believe, right? So very cool.
Correct. They're based in Lagos.
Yeah, so very cool. I love the fact that we get to bring people in from around the world on this stuff, and for them it's a cool opportunity to get to play with something that's a little different than what they had been doing outside of this. And so very cool. And shout out to them for also just being very willing participants in going through a creative process, which I think was a tad challenging at a few moments of just kind of figuring out exactly what some of the right finishing especially was for this story. But I think we really landed in an incredibly cool place. So that would be fun to share shortly as well. In fact, we did a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we did a kind of a preview of all of the Bushido's anthology stories. So, if it's not next week, at least the following week, we'll plan on maybe doing a preview of either the Dead Town anthologies or the Vogu anthologies, kind of showing what some of this stuff looks like that we keep talking about, because it is absolutely gorgeous work. And then Stephen has been cooking up a little surprise around some of this stuff too. Stephen being the Dead Town series artist, so there's something fun coming from him as part of this as well. Where does that leave us? What else do we want to talk about today?
That leaves us at Von Dingle's, I think, to wrap us up.
That leaves us at Von Dingle's.
Long conversation. We had it was the kickoff on Monday. Very specifically about it, but now that we're up and running and almost halfway there in terms of funding, which is very exciting after like 3 days. It's kind of awesome.
Pretty good for 48 hours. Yeah,
it's pretty good. So very happy with that indeed. And just the more that we're playing in this world, and the more we're talking, playing with the people involved with this, I think the more excited we get about it. Eben, you said this, I think. We were on with this. Oh, this was on Monday's call. We were talking about it. Just saying, like, I'll be the kind of one of the main two writers on the show, the series, basically, with Harv, who is his idea and who's the principal. One of the principals at Stupid Buddy, along with Seth Green, and it was this fun. Eben, you had this realization, was like, oh yeah, I've spent so much time in the comedy world over the last 10 years in the best possible way with some like absolute comedy geniuses, and then a bunch of stuff, obviously the last few years writing comics for us. It feels very fun to have these two things come together.
These two worlds united. Yes. No, it's fun. I'm not FOMOing about it. It's all good. But yeah, I mean, wanted to just jump back into talking about Von Dingle's for a second. And actually, I think we touched on this on Monday and said we would talk about it today too. Like, how does this Kickstarter piece of this and physical publishing, how does this all kind of tie back into this larger Macroverse ecosystem and our thesis around kind of the future of content entertainment and all that stuff? Like, how does that all come together? So first of all, as Adam said, we're literally what, $11 away from 50%, I think, something like that.
I think so,
15,000 at least. We're closing in on 50% of the funding goal. So again, not bad for 48 hours. We're pretty excited about it. There's a great interview with Harv and Seth that just hit at comicbook.com. And so we'll post that out as well, which is very cool. I think we continue to be tickled with just the notion that we're even making a graphic novel about anthropomorphized talking eggs that go on adventures. And I
even in the case of the lead, non-talking eggs who go on adventures.
This is
I think
true.
that's the
This
extra step. I feel like that was the step into that. The kind of got me really strongly was like, oh yeah, we're going to do talking eggs, except they're not talking. This one doesn't talk.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Oh,
well,
okay. So
Clark,
you can take a weird idea and make it even crazier, which is awesome. Yes.
Our hero Clark here in the center, standing on this Von Dingle's can. This was one of the things we talked about. Is so he in the sample pages that we have up here, these pages from the story. He's got a face that's actually drawn on him with crayon. And so part of what we'll be answering in the series is, what has happened that has him have this face drawn on him as we leave him in this precarious situation, getting potentially pecked to death by my favorite villain named the Pecker. So, as we roll out the series, we'll be kind of delving into some of that around, here's an egg that doesn't have a face, but sometimes can have a face either drawn on, or, if he gets splashed with mud, perhaps there's the indication of a face. And so there's a way of kind of creating a level of expressiveness around the character in kind of unique and creative ways. I think it's a perfect example of, having creative constraints that force creative solutions. And so, being able to play with how do you create emotional connection to someone that doesn't have a face? How do you have these characters communicate with each other with someone that doesn't have a face, and not only doesn't have a face, but as Adam said, doesn't really have language in the traditional sense. Or arms for that matter.
Or arms, yes. Body posture becomes very important. Yes.
Yes. So, body language of the legs, I think, is and the hips. The hips will say it all. Clark talks with his hips. So there's a lot of fun to be had as we kind of explore all the different ways we can create those things that are still critically important at the core of our actual lead character here. So circling back around, we're doing this with Stupid Buddy, as as anyone in the Web3 part of the world knows, Seth has got some experience with apes and, sad kind of story of losing an ape, which I believe he recovered at this point, which I hope is the case. And some other things, through the last bull cycle. So, these guys are no stranger to the world of Web3 and NFTs. They've, done a couple of projects in the space, including a project with Steve Aoki and I believe it's Shibuya. I apologize for butchering the name because I actually love the project. And a couple of other things, in the space as well as a studio. And so I think this is an interesting opportunity to take something that starts in the world of stop motion, bring it into the world of traditional comics and graphic novels, and then see, what other kinds of opportunities may open up for this project in particular. But then to bring it back around to Macroverse, I think, one of the things that we realized early on is that, kind of our core thesis in the most fundamental way is digital and collectible. These are the areas that I think are the most interesting and that have the biggest long-term potential. So digital more on the access side, collectible in every way that something is collectible, which, for my mind is something that I want to own. There's a reason that I have some sort of an emotional connection to something that I want to actually have it. And so sometimes that might be, a beautiful hardcover coffee table book that has, some sort of level of production value, or, the first physical graphic novel that I've bought I don't think is a word, that I have bought in years is this one from Ed Piskor, Hip Hop Family Tree. And this was his first, really the thing that put him on the map. He's an artist I really love. And this omnibus edition is just this beautifully produced graphic novel. And it's rather than getting that digitally, it's one of the very few things I was no, I actually would like to have this physical thing. Whereas for me, most of the rest of my content consumption is digital. I prefer not having things take up that physical space. And it's part of what the appeal to things like digital collectability, digital ownership is so appealing to me, because there are things I still want to own. There are things I still want to feel not only can I access this, but I want to, have it. I want to feel like it's mine. I get to do what I want with it. And, the collector and me, going all the way back to collecting comics since I was, a kid, it's there's just a feeling associated with, I got this copy of this thing that I love and it's mine, and I get to pull it out when I want it, and it's there for me when I want to do something with it. And if at some point I want to, give it to somebody else, or, do whatever else I want to do with it, I have that ability, which is just a different experience than, the other one, which I also love, which is if I want to watch anything in the world that I can just about imagine, it's 3 clicks away on my, any number of screens. So I think for us, we're really trying to serve both of those things in all of their forms. And the other thing that we realize, quite frankly, is that as a company and as a studio, we're really, I think, the only ones in the space at the moment that are kind of capable of putting all these pieces together in a truly kind of meaningful way. And so having the pipeline from digital on the traditional app, into digital and collectible on the platform that's about to launch, into traditional comic stores, direct to consumer through things like Kickstarter and whatnot. All these pieces combine into an ecosystem where we believe we'll be able to kind of give people great stuff in any way that they want it, and then be able to bring all those pieces together into an ecosystem which looks a little different than any publishing or studio, publishing entity or studio that currently exists. And so the long-term ambition is massive, but I think getting all of these puzzle pieces onto the table in the right way, where we can then be assembling them into this longer term vision, this is a step in that direction. And so, we believe it will have a halo effect into everything that we're doing. And as a result, be something meaningful for everyone that chooses to participate in what we're doing. So that's the way I think about it, at least. Adam, anything you would add to that?
No, I think, it's always, the strategy is to, find cool ideas and work on cool ideas with cool people. And ultimately, you do enough of those, you can't guarantee that any one idea pops. Like, if you could do that, the studios would all be making billions on every single movie. You just can't. And it can be great and it just doesn't ring with an audience, or it can be terrible and it does. You just don't know what that is. All you can do is keep making the best possible stuff that you can with the best possible people, and that rising tide of stories and material and content will ultimately float kind of all the boats on that, the kind of floating on that ocean, I guess. I was about to say swimming in that sea. That's metaphors horribly. This is very much part of that strategy. And I think it becomes part of, it's why we're looking at gaming, and we're exploring gaming in a couple of other places as well, kind of very actively. Obviously, our own material constantly going, why we do team with cool projects to produce cool stuff like Wanderers. Like, this all contributes to the larger ecosystem. And it'll be, I think it's the right approach. It has given the market, all this has taken longer than we wanted and hoped and kind of were driving for, but I do feel like there's this head of steam building now that is going to propel us out of this year and into the next big way.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Bennett and Adam Fortier and some of the other people that we've been working with over the last handful of months. I mean, the team that has come together here over this year in particular has just been like lining up dominoes, basically. So it's like, I feel like we and everyone who's involved with what we're up to, you're just going to start to see some of these things fall into place over the next probably 6 months, as all of the work that's been going on behind the scenes starts to be revealed and paid off and become things that we can share and talk about and reveal. And it's pretty darn exciting, honestly. But I do want to just publicly acknowledge Bennett in particular, but everyone that has been working with us on this stuff. The amount of opportunities that are being lined up and worked on is almost mind-boggling. It's what we wanted. It's what we wanted, and it's awesome. So,
brilliant.
Lots of good stuff. So I think that's the update for today. Speaking of working with awesome people, come be one of those awesome people with other awesome people in the Macroverse Discord, discord.gg/Macroverse. Adam and I are both accessible there as well if you want to chat any of this stuff or anything else. We'll be back with this stream, same general time, same channel for sure. Our channels
for sure.
Same time.
Hopefully, cameras will be working. We'll get
cameras will be working from the beginning next time.
We'll just have an avatar. I feel like we could do an avatar of Eben with just like the squiggly wires.
I need a. You know what? We need like AR filters of each of the projects. I think I can go on the slightly longer term roadmap. But if we could both be koalas when we're talking about koalas, and then shift into samurai, I think that's the
good idea. I love that.
That would be the fun way to do it. So, all right. With that, we'll wrap up for today. We're actually jumping on another call before another fun project, and more to come on everything plus. So see you next week.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.